and welcome to our channel, Escaping Nightmares. I'm Jess,
And I'm Bree.
and today we're going to be covering new books and movies coming out in the month of April.
All right, I'm doing books, and I've got a whole bunch for April. All right, these are books in April. Please ignore my gigantic forehead, all you goblins and
Magnus, Ghosts, and Goblins and Goos.
maggots, ghosts, goblins. Maggots, ghosts, and
They're
goblins,
good.
welcome. The first one I got for April comes out. Uh, why did I make this so fucking small? The first one comes out April 1st. It is called Direct Descendant. This one's interesting because this one is a horror, fantasy, romance, gay H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we'll have some tentacle action going on in this one, but I doubt it. That's another video. Is a cozy horror novel set in modern day Toronto. Oh, actually, sorry. This is Direct Descendants by Tanya Huff. Comes out April 1st. This one's a little bit longer. I'm sorry, Jess. It's 336 pages.
It's a little too lengthy for myself,
Yeah,
but but
it's a little too much for Jess. For fans of T. Kingfisher, Grady Hendrix, and Darcy Coates, all authors I love. Generations ago, the founders of an idyllic town made a deal with the dark force in exchange for their services. The town will stay prosperous and successful. This reminds me of a South Park episode where they make a deal with Man Bear Pig.
oh, what?
Great episode. The whole town, the old people of the town made a deal with Man Bear Pig so they could have cars and ice cream. Hopefully they ask for something a lot better in this book.
I haven't seen South Park forever, but I'm like, I kind of want to watch that
Oh,
episode.
I love the Man Bear Pig ones. You have to watch those anyway. So they made a deal to be successful and to keep outsiders out. And for generations, this worked out great until a visitor goes missing and his wealthy family sends a private investigator to find him. And everything goes sideways. Now, the town baker and part time servant of the Dark Force, it's a family business, has to contend to a rising army of darkness, a very frustrated town, and a cute PI who she might be falling for, and who might be falling for her. And if they can survive their own homegrown apocalypse, they might even just find happiness together. Queer cozy and with a touch of eldritch horror mixed in just for fun. This is a charming love story about a small-time baker, a quick-witted PI, and yes, an ancient evil. So no tentacle monsters, unfortunately. Sorry. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this one because I'm usually a very anti-romance in my horror, but they're relating this to three of my favorite authors: T. Kingfisher, Grady Hendrix, and Darcy Coates. So
Okay.
I'd if I could, I would want to give this a try, but it needs to be on Kindle Unlimited for that to happen. So this is a whole conversation we had the last time we recorded. This title of this book, this one comes out April 3rd. This is called This House Isn't Haunted, but We Are.
Oh my gosh, that that would be like our last video. That's okay. That's my childhood house.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
me
not
and
in
Jess had a whole
on the
conversation.
channel.
Yeah, and this we just had a whole conversation about how her house wasn't haunted, she was. Unfortunately, that video didn't make the cut. We axed it, but it
No.
was a funny
Oh
conversation.
yeah.
Anyway, This House Isn't Haunted, But We Are is by Stephen Howard, comes out April 3rd. It's 106 pages.
I could read that one.
So this one is a couple mourning the loss of their young daughter take an opportunity to renovate a rural cottage in the remote North Yorkshire moors. However, they can't process their grief as increasingly eerie events unfold. Is their daughter haunting or something else?
That's a short one, but I like that. I like stories when it's like if it's the actual environment that's the haunting or if it's the person.
Yeah.
I really like books like that.
Yeah. All right, the next one I have is called The Cut. It's by C.J. Dotson. It comes out April 8th. It's horror, paranormal, and it's 304 pages. Not for Jessica. All right, a historic hotel, long past its prime and huddled along the cut, a questionable Lake Erie beach, isn't Sadie's ideal place to raise a toddler while also having to navigate her second pregnancy. After finally fleeing her abusive ex-fiance, though, Sadie's new housekeeping position and free roam at the hotel are the best that she can manage. On her first night, Sadie runs to help a guest struggling in the hotel's pool, only to find the water calm and empty when she gets there, leaving her with a lingering unease. When a guest then goes missing and her manager insists they simply left without checking out, Sadie suspects he's covering up darker things going on in the hotel. After her ex, Sadie won't let anyone convince her that she's experiencing isn't real again. So her ex was probably gaslighting her.
Pretty much like they're making it seem like she's insane, but she's
Mm.
not.
Yeah, so she might have seen the guest drowning, I guess. So she keeps digging and quickly uncovers suspicious interactions with the staff, mysteriously vanishing security cameras and missing guests, and things that go bump in the night. And drips in the walls, slithers in the tub, and squirm in the halls. Ew, that's gross. Sounds like they need to renovate that nasty hotel.
Hey, they're like, no, we can make money off this. We'll call it haunted and creepy. We don't even have to fix it.
Our dumbasses would go there too. Like, ooh, the walls are drippy and slithery.
We would taking out the selfies pictures next to it.
Ew, look at this gross wall. Sadie has nowhere to go and nowhere to hide, so she'll have to keep her wits about her to survive and keep her toddler and unborn child safe from whatever lurks nearby. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. She's pregnant, having to deal with all this bullshit. The next one I have is called The Devil's Colony. This is by Marie Lestrange. Hopefully I said that right. This is just horror. It comes out April 8th, and there are no page numbers listed on this one.
It's a long book then.
It
I'm
could
gonna go
be.
with a long one.
It could be. We don't know. So, The Devil's Colony. In the haunting wilderness of 1587, the Dare family seeks salvation but finds only damnation in the form of a desolate settlement and mounting deaths. The Devil's Colony weaves a blood-soaked tapestry of historical tragedy and spine-chilling suspense, exploring the line between faith and madness in the new world. This features witchcraft, wendigos, possessed children, found footage of diary entries, and long buried secrets. I love the Wendigo. I love books about the Wendigo.
Because the Wendigo is the tall creature, right? That's usually in the forest. Because I'm like kind of drawing a blank on what the Wendigo is, but
Yeah.
he's like
So the
he's like the
Wendigo is
werewolf kind of guy.
kind of he's like a Native American kind of folklore where essentially like people would go get lost in the forest, and if they ate human flesh, they became the Wendigo.
Okay.
With echoes of Alma Katsu's The Hunger, this novel draws readers into a world where the promise of a new beginning leads to the unimaginable horror, exploring the haunted consequences of betrayal and the desperate lengths one family will go to reclaim what it's lost. All right, the next one I got is Their Monstrous Hearts.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know how to say this author's name, but They're Monstrous Hearts by this person. April 8th. This one's a horror gothic thriller mystery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's 320 pages. So,
Not bad.
sorry, Jess.
That's okay. I might just have to up my game to 300 pages.
A mysterious stranger shows up at Ricardo's apartment with some news. His grandmother has died, and Ricardo has inherited her villa in Milan, along with her famed butterfly collection. That's a dream come true, and inheriting a nice property.
I know.
That's the only that's the only hope we have in this life now is if someone fucking dies and leaves us all their shit.
Yeah, but with me, I'm not really. I don't really have that much. I was like, my dad lives in a retirement town, and my mom lives up in the woodworks of I don't even know where the mountainside. So I'm like,
She has no address.
man,
She's a woods person.
yeah, pretty much.
That's the only way our generation will ever get any property or wealth is if someone dies.
It's so sad, but true.
But
But
true.
we're just out here being on. We're just being honest out here, y'all.
Yeah, it's just honest. Not like we want people to die, but you know,
It's life.
that's life. I'm sorry. But he inherits her beautiful villa and her butterfly collection. The struggling writer is out of options. He's hoping the change of scenery in Mulan will inspire him, and maybe there will be some money to keep him afloat. But her house isn't quite how he remembers. The butterflies pinned in their glass cases seem more ominous than artful. Yeah, the mysterious group of old friends is constantly lurking, and there's something wrong in the greenhouse. As Ricardo explores the estate, he stumbles upon his grandma's diary, which might hold the key to her mysterious death, or at least give him the inspiration he needs to finish his manuscript. but he might not survive long enough to write it.
Damn, what are those like killer butterflies?
Who knows? I don't know. Sounds like maybe there's some creepy butterfly magic and some weird old people. Those damn
Poor
boomers
Ricardo.
ruin everything. I swear to God.
That's why they're boomers.
That's why they're boomers. They just ruin the economy and all hope we have for the future. It's fine.
They come in with a boom, they leave with a boom.
They take the boom with them to the grave.
Exactly.
We don't hate boomers. We don't hate anybody.
Uh-huh.
It's all for
That
jokes.
is very true.
It's all jokes.
It is.
Our parents are boomers.
I love my mom. She told me like I said, she's a boomer. She lives in the middle of nowhere and she collects rocks. She said she wasn't going to pay for the rocks. She got the rocks from the river and made herself a patio.
Okay, she made herself a patio with rocks from the river?
Yeah, she said she wasn't going to pay for them. I had to go with her one day.
I want to see this patio. Now I'm fucking curious. Like, what does this patio look like?
And sadly, she wasn't. She was only able to finish half of it.
I mean, I would imagine lugging a bunch of rocks up to build a patio from the river. It would be hard work for your mother. How old is she? Like, at
Yeah.
least 60.
She's 65. She got arthritis and she has a hip replacement.
We'll give it to the boomers. They are a tough bunch.
They are.
She had a hip replacement. She's lugging rocks up from the river to build a patio. That's insane. I would not want to go toe to toe with a boomer in a fight. They would probably win.
No.
I'm sitting here watching YouTube while your mom's building strength, picking rocks out of the river. Prey Upon the Lambs. This is by Jack Finn. It comes out April 9th. It doesn't have any tags, but this one is 183 pages.
Ooh, I like
So
that.
a good one for you. As winter looms, a wolf of unusual size and intelligence descends upon the rural 19th century Russian village. Foregoing local livestock, the beast preys upon human victims, confounding the local hunters whose efforts to kill the beast meet with disaster. The village priest blames the wolf's deprivations on the presence of Galina Skotova, mistress of the Countess of these Russian names. I swear to God, I can't pronounce this. Kalalin? I don't know. A town. Countess of a town. Don't judge me. You shut up. People are gonna be like, you stupid ass, you can't. Why are you recommending books you can't even read?
You're like, I can read them. I just don't know how to read these weird names.
Yes, this is Russian.
50 million syllables.
I am dyslexic. I barely speak English. Okay? And then you add Russian names in there. I don't know. She's the Countess of a town. And she's taken away to a cottage outside of another fucking name I can't pronounce. Another village. She's taken away to another village. Okay? A weird one. I'm not going to try and say it. Aided by a young villager girl in her. Okay, hold on. Aided by a young village girl in her and an outcast boy orphaned by. Okay, she's got a bunch of friends with her, okay? I don't understand what's going on. I can read and I can comprehend, but that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I was like, is she a village to another village? And then, was she eaten?
No. So she's a count. She's the countess of a village who is taken away to another village for safety,
Okay.
probably because there's a wolf eating people. So she's probably rich, and the people are like, we have to save the rich people, so they take her away to save her while the poors, like us, the poor people, get eaten by a beast. She teams up with a young village girl and an outcast boy that is an orphan. She seeks to unravel the wolf's secret before they become the next victim. Through that.
Oh,
I don't know why that
you
was so
did.
hard, but I did it.
There's all the Russian village names.
Yeah, I am not even going to try because I'll just get roasted by anybody who watches this video. I don't speak Russian. I'm sorry. I apologize. But it sounds interesting. It's about a wolf, and this girl teams up with a group of people to try and stop the wolf, which, I mean, hey. And it's in Russia. Can you do a Russian accent?
No, I was like, I'm Latvian.
You're Latvian.
Yeah.
Do you speak Latvian? What do Latvians
I actually
speak?
do. I do now speak a little Latvian. I know how to say my name, and I know how to say you're fat and ugly. It's not gonna. My grandpa did not. My grandpa did not teach me very nice.
You should start every
Um,
video in Latvian saying you're fat and ugly.
is Rassens and Nesmokes. So Rassens and Nesmokes is you're fat and ugly.
The Russian
But
book
yes.
about a werewolf, prey upon the lambs. April 9th. This one is Senseless by Ronald Malafi. And I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I should know how to say his name because he's very famous, but I'm stupid. So, this is a horror, crime, vampires. It comes out April
Ooh, yeah.
15th. And I'm sorry, Jessica. It's 432 pages.
Oh, that is way too many pages. But I might. That's a toss up because it's mystery and it got vampires
Crime and vampires.
and crime vampires.
So it's What Do You See? When the mutilated body of a young woman is discovered in the desert on the outskirts of Los Angeles, a detective assigned to the case can't deny the similarities between this murder and the one that occurred a year prior. Media outlets are quick to surmise that this is the work of a budding serial killer. But Detective Bill Romney is struggling with an altogether different secret that keeps him tethered to the husband of the first victim. And then it says, What do you hear? Marine Park, newly engaged to Hollywood producer Greg Dawson, finds her engagement party crashed by the arrival of Landon, Greg's son, a darkly unsettling young man. Landon invades Marine's new existence, and the longer he stays, the more convinced she becomes that he may have something to do with the recent murders in the high desert. Okay, what do you feel? Toady Campton, the self-proclaimed human fly, begins an obsession over a woman who is unlike anyone he has ever met. A woman with rattlesnake teeth and a penchant for biting. A woman who has trapped him in her spell. A woman who may or may not be completely human. This is a brave new thriller. These three storylines converging to create a tapestry of deceit, distrust, and unapologetic horror. Brand new novel of dark suspense set in the city of Los Angeles. Yeah, so that one sounds like a lot of fun. I only problem I think I'm gonna have with this book is the storylines. Sometimes I get a little confused when there's a lot of people. I hate when books have too many characters because I have no idea what's going on.
Well, like I feel like that's an understandable statement because if you have, let's say, 5 characters, it's not that hard to follow them. But once you start getting more of that, and then they're trying to give you their backstory, it's like you have to literally remember and use your imagination, store those characters, and then on top of that, follow the rest of the storyline.
Yeah, this is probably one of those books where sometimes if books have a lot of characters in them, I'll take out my notebook and I'll take notes on the characters just so I can follow along with who did what and who's doing what and
It's
like
like a real mystery.
it's a mystery to me because I don't know who the hell we're talking about when we go back and forth through storylines. The next one I got is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This is a werewolf horror thriller fantasy. It's 304 pages. It comes out April 22nd. One night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying events of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn that there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could ever imagine. And then, when the wolf finally comes, none will be spared.
So she just found this little abandoned wolf boy,
Yeah,
and she's running away with him.
I guess.
Damn. I was gonna say, I'm like, I followed that. I was like, it sounded like she found an abandoned wolf boy. Then also said the father. I'm like,
Yeah.
was the father trying to chase them down too?
Maybe the father's trying
But
to eat the boy. I
nonetheless,
don't know.
yeah, it sounds like she runs into their pack, and you don't want to run into an angry pack of werewolves. So
Yeah, after their child.
I might, exactly. I might just have to watch it too because it's my name.
The next one I got is called The Sundowners Dance by Todd Kesseling. This is 360 pages. This one also comes out April 22nd. Jerry Campbell just wants to be left alone. Grief-stricken over the death of his wife Abigail, the elderly widower and recent retiree is desperate for a change of scenery. When his realtor suggests a new home in Fairview Acres, a retirement community, Jerry figures it will be a nice place to spend the rest of his days in solitude until he moves in. Weird neighbors, nightly block parties, strange noises across his roof at all hours, First of all is Arthur Pearson, chairman of the Fair Acres Community Association, who seems obsessed with coaxing Jerry to participate in the neighborhood activities. At first, Jerry shrugs off the incident and eccentricities, telling himself that he doesn't want to be the guy who complains about everything. But all that changes one evening when Catherine appears at his doorstep with an ominous warning. You need to leave. The worms, they dance at nightfall. His neighbors say that Catherine suffers from a form of dementia called sundowner syndrome, but as the weeks progress and the strangeness mounts, Jerry begins to suspect there is something else going on in his neighborhood, something that has to do with the huge stone in the community park. Heartfelt and unsettling, Todd Kessling's latest novel, The Sundowner's Dance, propels readers through a terrifying exploration of grief, dementia, and perhaps the greatest horror of all, growing old. I saw one reviewer said that this was tasty and it will make you cry.
It'll taste it. It'll make you
I don't know
cry.
what that means, but I am very intrigued by that. And the overall review of this book already is a 4.8. And it's like, what is this book about? The worms will dance at night? Like, there's weird neighbors and weird sounds? Like, I have no idea. No idea what it's about, but damn it, do I want to read it really bad.
I right. I had a midlife crisis at 25, thinking I was old and my life was over. I'm like, now now I'm
Midlife
sitting here like,
crisis at 25.
yeah.
This one is called Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker. This is a horror, mystery, thriller, gothic. It is 304 pages and it comes out April 29th. In this explosive horror novel, a woman is haunted by inner trauma, hungry ghosts, and a serial killer as she confronts the brutal violence experienced by East Asians during the pandemic. Cora Zhang is a crime scene cleaner, washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown. But none of that seems so terrible when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible, her sister being pushed in front of a train. Before fleeing the scene, the murderer shouted two words, Bat Eater. So the bloody mess didn't really bother Cora. She's more bothered by the germs on the subway railing, and the bare hands of strangers, the hidden viruses in every corner, and the bite marks on her coffee table. Bite marks on her coffee table. What the hell does that
I
even
mean,
mean?
yeah. I was just gonna say, I'm like, what's biting the coffee table? I'm
A
like,
little
I was
toddler just
listening, but
gnawing on it. Or
oh
a
my
puppy.
gosh, that could be a puppy. I like the toddler.
I don't know why I immediately thought it was a toddler and not a dog, but I don't know. Of course, ever since Delilah was killed in front of her, Cora can't be sure what's real and what's in her head. She pushes away all feelings and ignores the advice of her aunt to prepare for the Hungry Ghost Festival when the gates of hell open. But she can't ignore the dread in her stomach as she keeps finding bat carcasses at crime scenes, or the scary face, or the scary fact that all her recent cleanups have been the bodies of East Asian women. As Cora will soon learn, you can't just ignore hungry ghosts. I did notes. My notes say I hate the paperback cover of this book, but the Kindle edition is fire. I have a note that said I entered the giveaway. Did I win? Probably not, because I didn't get an email. The Staircase in the Woods. This is by Chuck Wendig, and it comes out April 29th. It is 400 pages. Sorry, Jessica.
It's okay. It's just not my month for reading, but
Yeah.
it's always new horizons out there. So
Yeah. This one's a supernatural horror mystery. Five high school friends are bound by an oath to protect one another no matter what. Then, on a camping trip in the middle of the forest, they find a mysterious staircase in the middle of nowhere.
oh yeah.
Yeah. One friend walks up and never comes back down. Then the staircase disappears.
Was this in the middle? Sorry, was this like in the middle of the woods?
Yes.
Did they find this mystery?
Yes.
Oh no, I've read about this. They
Yes.
say you should never go up staircases in the middle of the woods because it goes to a different dementia, usually hell, and you're stuck. But I'm intrigued.
Is this like an urban legend or is this like a creepypasta? I don't remember if it was like a creepypasta.
It's like an urban legend. I've read about, yeah. If you they say if you ever find staircases just in the middle of the woods, that it goes to either a different dementia or it goes to hell. But usually the legend goes is that once you go up those stairs, you can't, and you kind of walk through the top part, you can't come back. Or when you do come back, you're like in an alternate universe. At least from like what I remembered. But I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, but yeah, so they're camping. and they find it in the middle of the forest. All right. So friend goes up the staircase. Not a good idea. And never comes back down. 20 years later, the staircase has reappeared. Now the group returns to find the lost boy and what lies beyond the staircase in the woods. I don't know if I'm going to say this one correctly. This is Polybus? Polybus? Apparently, this is like, if I'm remembering correctly, this is based on a like creepy pasta legend or something like that. This is by Colin Armstrong. It comes out April 29th. This is a mystery science fiction horror video game. This is 352 pages, another one not for Jessica.
No.
So this says Stranger Things meets The Walking Dead in this novel based on a terrifying urban legend about a small seaside town descending into chaos when an unusual video game is unveiled at the local arcade. So it's based on an urban
Ooh.
legend. I was like, it's either a creepypasta or an urban legend, but I couldn't remember.
Yes.
But it's,
I
yeah.
love urban legends.
Having recently moved to the gentrifying seaside town of Tasker Bay with her mother, the only thing on high schooler Andy's mind is saving up enough money for her escape to Silicon Valley. Don't do that. You will never save up
Don't go
enough
to
money to
Silicon
move
Valley.
here. It's not going to happen. Though it's owned by the shadiest resident in town, she takes a job at the dingy arcade home video world. Pining over Andy is Roe, the son of Tasker Bay's sheriff. With his friend's matchmaking help, he begins spending more time at the arcade, and soon Andy finds herself opening up to Roe. But when the store gets an unusual new game of unknown origin, the floor is suddenly overwhelmed with players fighting to get some time on the machine. Seemingly overnight, a virus-like epidemic sweeps through the town with a major coastal storm rolling in, isolating them further from the outside world. Time is of the essence as residents collectively experience anger, paranoia, hallucinations, and even catatonia. And when one horrendous act of violence goes unsolved, the town descends into utter chaos. Realizing no one is coming to their rescue, Andy and Ro take matters into their own hands to try and get to the bottom of the spiraling madness until it begins affecting them too. This is the problem I have with relating books to existing franchises that have a huge audience. Like The Walking Dead still has an audience or a fan base, and Stranger Things has a big fan base. Is you get this like expectation a little too high. I think when you say, oh, this is just like this, because the amount of times I've read books where it's like, oh, this is just like Event Horizon. This is just like this great movie. And you read it going into it being like, okay, like I'm expecting Event Horizon and I get a teenage romance. Like, and I feel like the only reason they're saying that this is related to Stranger Things is because there's teenagers in it. Like, I don't think, I think you're doing the author a disservice by making people expect Stranger Things in The Walking Dead. Which is probably why this poor book only has like either people really like it or they didn't seem to like it. But 3.8 isn't bad. My next one is Departure 37 by Scott Carson. This comes out April 29th. This one I was confused by. It says April 29th, but it also says August 5th. So, also, there's no page numbers listed.
It's a mystery within a mystery.
Yeah, so yeah. But this one is tagged as Halloween action horror. You don't really see Halloween in action in one thing, but I'm willing to see. I want to see where this goes. On a clear October day, the American sky is empty after hundreds of pilots refuse to fly, triggering a complete ground stop as authorities seek to explain the act of baffling coordination that the pilots insist was anything but planned. The pilots received disturbing middle of the night calls from their mothers, and each mother had a simple and urgent request: do not fly today. There are a few concerning elements to the calls. None of the mothers remember making them, and some of the mothers are dead.
What? They're like dead? Like they had already died
Yeah.
and that was a call from a ghost?
Yeah, so like me, like if I was
Oh
a
no.
pilot, my mom died like 12 years ago. I get a call from her that says don't fly.
That. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. I.
Already creepy. Already creepy.
That's what, yeah, that's already creepy. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think a part of me would want to fly. Just because I'm like, this was already a creepy experience. I'm going to ignore my dead loved ones and I'm going to fly because I'm going to find out what they meant. And then they're just going to be sitting there being like, are you fucking kidding me? I used my energy to tell you not to fly and there she is.
You're just defiant. You
Yeah,
just don't want to
pretty
listen to what anybody has to say. You're like, no, I'm fine day.
pretty much. I do that like sounds great. Sounds wonderful. Yeah, I'm going
Yeah,
anyway.
that sounds like something you would do. While the nation's military chiefs and artificial intelligence experts mobilize in search of an answer, a 16-year-old girl named Charlie on the coast of Maine watches a strange silver balloon drift across the water towards her home, a place that she loathes. Her father's dream of opening a craft brewery on an old airfield has been a disaster, and all she wants is to escape back to Brooklyn. I can already see what her dad looks like. She's about to get much more than that. Her new home is ground zero for a story that begins at a remote naval base in Indiana during the winter of 1962, when a physicist named Martin discovers something extraordinary and deadly. All Hazelton wanted was time to seek an explanation, but pressure from both American and Russian actors forced him into a perilous race. Moving between the two characters and timelines, Scott Carson weaves a Cold War espionage contemporary horror in a story that explains why number one New York's bestseller Joe Hill declared himself as a fan for life. That's Stephen King's son said that he was a fan of this guy because of this book. And that's just where it ends. I just cut it off. A reviewer said, "Good Lord in heaven above, enough with the details. I love when an author does research, but now I know way too much about weather balloons and airplanes and AI and weather balloons and AI and weather balloons." It just kept
Oh my
going.
gosh.
So I made another note and I said, this note is kind of mean. I said, the cover is kind of boring. It reminds me of a James Patterson book cover. But the story sounds really good. And already this book hasn't even come out yet. It has a 4.9 overall rating from people who got like pre-sales and like, you know. So this next one I have is kind of weird. It's called Disgraced Return of the Cap's Needle by Reagan Bernard. It comes out April 29th. It's a sci-fi with no pages listed. 20 years ago, the generation ship Cap's Needle left Earth to start a new settlement on what was believed to be a life-sustaining planet. The ship reached its destination without incident, but failed in its stated mission to settle in the alien world. Now, 2 years into an emergency trip back to Earth, the crew is struggling to keep it together. The ship's biospheres are failing, its breathable oxygen supply is nearly depleted, and time is running out. Survival has become a suffocating race against the clock. Ghost Woods by C.J. Cook. This one comes out April 29th. This is a horror, fantasy, historical, paranormal. It's 384 pages.
It's a little steep on pages, but I really like that's like
Sleep on
such a good genre.
In the midst of the woods stands a house called Lynchen Hall. This place is shrouded in folklore, old stories of ghosts, of witches, of a child who was not quite a child. Now the woods are creeping closer and something has been unleashed. Pearl Gorham arrives in 1965, one of a string of young women sent to the hall to give birth, and she soon suspects the proprietors are hiding something. Then she meets the mysterious mother and young boy who live on the grounds, and together they begin to unpack the secrets of this place. As the truth comes to the surface and the darkness moves in, Pearl must rethink everything she knew and risk what she holds most dear. But that's The Ghost Witch by C.J. Cook. Next one is Say Uncle by Ryan Bradley. This one comes out April 29th. There are no tags. This one is 198 pages. It's 2005, and 15-year-old Brandon O'Reilly is hoping for the best summer of his life. Instead, he finds himself sleeping on an air mattress next to his brother in the wake of a marriage separation. Their vulgar, misogynistic uncle has moved in, bringing along a mysterious book of strange occult symbols. What could this book mean? Who exactly is the man sleeping in his bedroom, Brandon's bedroom? And what other devastating secrets could he be hiding? So, creepy uncle. We all know the stories. Don't go near creepy uncle. He's sleeping in their room?
I
Ugh.
was just thinking, I was like, why is he sleeping in the room?
No. We all know. We all know about uncles. And he has devastating secrets that he's hiding. This one's very vague.
It's very vague, but sometimes those ones are turn out to be kind of the best books
Mhm.
because they left you so much mystery
Yeah.
to like unravel.
And then the very last book I have is called Volpine Curse by Catherine Silva. There is no page number or tags on this one, and it comes out April 30th. In the aftermath of a dystopian drought, a new widow ruthlessly fights against the final stages of grief by killing the unlucky souls left behind. And that's it. That's all I
Oh
have.
my, I was all sitting here waiting. I'm like, what
Okay,
else?
what
And then it's
else?
like, you're like, and that's it. I'm like, oh.
Dystopian drought where she has to kill unlucky souls.
Yeah, but that's what I like. I actually like that Unlucky Souls because that can mean so many different things. Like, is she like a soul hunter?
All right, now we're doing movies by Jessica.
All right, everyone. So the first on my list is The Bondsman. It has Kevin Bacon. It has Kevin Spacey or Kevin Bacon.
I gotta admit,
and
Kevin Bacon's kind of hot. Is that weird?
Yeah, no,
I
yeah,
smash.
no, and I was just gonna say that. And Kevin Bacon's actually not that bad. He's like an older dude, but there's something about him. He's not that bad looking.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
so
agree.
there's something about him, and that's why I'm really excited for this movie. So it's called The Bondsman. Comes out on April 3rd on Prime for all you Prime subscribers, and it's about a guy, and he's murdered by a bounty hunter, and he comes back from the dead and reincarnated as the devil to trap and send demons that has escaped from prison of hell by chasing them down and learning his own sins and to get his soul condemned.
So
Condemned.
Kevin Bacon, he comes back as the devil?
Yeah, he comes back as the devil because
Ooh.
he would,
Oh.
yeah. Oh,
Oh.
right.
Oh
So
my.
that's why I was like, ooh, I want to see this one. And so it's called Bondsman. It's a murdered bounty hunter. So he was a bounty hunter,
Ooh.
and
Oh.
yeah.
Oh my. Oh my stars. Oh.
I that's why I was like, ooh, I can get down with this one
We're getting all
because
hot and bothered.
I know because he was a bounty hunter, so he already has that like tough, like, well, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
And then he's murdered. Apparently I'm sorry. He must not have been that good of a bonds hunter because
Okay.
his ass got murdered.
That's okay.
Yeah, he got murdered. He got murdered. But hey, he comes back
I would gladly
unbanned.
escape from hell to have Kevin Bacon chase after me.
I know. I'd be like, "Woo, we got a new bounty hunter." I'm like, "Okay, y'all."
I'd be like, oh no, Kevin Bacon, don't come get me.
Oh no, I tripped and I fell.
Oh no, you might have to handcuff me. I've been a very bad soul.
Well, and the best part is that what they categorized this one was horror comedy too. So
So
it's
this would
gonna
work
be
out.
good. So yeah, that's the Bondsman with Kevin Bacon on the third of April.
This is Prime?
Yeah, that one's on Prime. But to move on, but we also had this. This is another one. It's not in theaters, but this one's on Shudder for those ones that don't have Prime but have Shudder. It's called 825 Forest Road. And this one, like a mystery. It's mystery horror, and it's about a family who hopes to start a new life after a tragic event. And when they move to a small town in Ashwood Falls, his wife and little sister quickly discover the town has more dark secrets. It was like the parents that died. It wasn't like mom, dad. It was like grandparents that died. And so they moved back to this old town, like family town, like just creepy, crazy stuff starts happening. So that was on Shudder. But then we also, on that same day, on April 4th, in theaters, we have The Hell of Summer. This one is a comedy horror. It actually seems like a fun, kind of a funny movie. It follows a 24-year-old camp counselor who arrives to Camp Pineway unaware that a mass killer is lurking in the campgrounds, brutally picking off the counselors one by one. That one actually seems pretty funny, and I was like, okay, I could get behind that because I don't know, I have always liked that setting, like campgrounds and camp counselors and summer camps. This is another one. I swear, at this point, I'm getting all platforms. On April 10th, the new Black Mirror comes out, season 7. Yeah, so I'm excited. So any of those have not seen Black Mirror, it's one of those shows that you don't have to watch it from the very first season. You could kind of pick it up at any season because every individual episode is its own kind of twisted horror.
But if you haven't seen Black Mirror and you do watch it, don't watch the very first episode of season 1. Like, that'll give you the wrong It gives you the wrong feeling for what the show is actually about. Like, it set the tone. You think the tone of the show is going to be like that, and it's not. Like, that episode is so out of place.
And I can't believe it's on season 7 already. But yeah, that comes on April 10th. On Netflix. And then we have another one. This one I had to do a little bit of research on because I was like trying to find where it was, if it was streaming or theater. But it is a theater. So on April 18th in theaters, it's called It Feeds. And it's the dark, entertaining fairy tale horror film from the Norwegian writer and director Emily Bolchen. I want to see it when it comes streaming. But then the last one on April 25th in theater, a movie called Till Dawn is coming out, and this one seems really excited. It says 1 year after her sister disappeared, Clover and her friends hurried to a remote valley where she vanished in search for answers. They're forced to relive the horror over and over again. It's literally like a reset every single day. Like, they walk in the visitor center, they find the sister's name, the one that disappeared, and they're like, okay, she was here. And then they look on the wall and there's a whole bunch of posters of like missing people. One person dies, the other person gets like stabbed. And then all of a sudden they wake up and they see that the clock had turned. Every night they encounter something different. Like, one night this girl has, like, in the preview, has something like coming out of her face, and they're like trying to yank it out, and like goes back in her face, and she's like, what do you mean it's still in my face? And then it's reset and they wake up again, and they're like, okay, we need to try to keep each other alive throughout the night. Like, they've decided that that's how they survive. The next night the thing is not coming out of the girl's face anymore, but instead it's like this like cryptid turn crooked back lady, like in the corner, kind of like Pet Cemetery status, but like looking at them, and it comes crawling out really fast at them. When they survive that, they wake up, and this time both of those two things don't happen, but now it's like a ex-serial killer trying to stab them and axe them off.
So it's kind of like a Groundhog Day, but they keep encountering different monsters every day.
Exactly.
There's an opportunity for just so many monsters. When you were watching the trailers, did you notice if it was practical effects or if it was like CGI?
So it actually looked like practical effects. It did not look like CGI.
Oh, that's cool. I was worried because I'm like, these could be really cool monsters. They could do like a whole lot with this, but if they're using just CGI, I'm not going to be down.
But yeah, that was my very, very short segment of my shows coming out. So that ties it up. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe so you never miss one of our fun videos. So until next time, bye everyone.